I'm Anna Mitchell on the Sunrise Morning Show, joined now by Michael Collopy. He's a renowned portrait photographer, and Ignatius Press has released a softcover edition of his book of photos of Mother Teresa and her missionaries of charity. It's called Works of Love are Works of Peace. Michael, welcome to the program.
Such a pleasure, Anna.
Can you just sort of tell us about the process of putting together this photo essay that you have of Mother Teresa and her sisters?
Well, this is a reflection of 15 years of documenting Mother Teresa and the missionaries of charity. You know, Mother had a deal with God that she told me that for every photograph taken of her, a soul was released from purgatory. So you can imagine the kind of pressure I was under.
I love it.
In fact, there was a day out in Washington, D.C., and that Mother had seen my face in the crowd of a sea of other photographers and walked up to me shaking her finger with a big smile saying, "Today the place was cleaned out." So she and I knew what she meant, but in any case, so it's really a reflection of photographing Mother over the course of 15 years in various parts of the world. At one point, Mother had invited my wife and I to come out and visit her in Calcutta, and I thought it was very important to go and see the work that she established there, her first homes, the House for the Dying, and the orphanage, Shishu Bhavan, and the home that she did, which is really kind of a city within a city for those individuals suffering from leprosy. But I have to say, in the course of photographing Mother, probably some of my most favorite opportunities or times with her, moments with her, were really without the camera. And in the early days, I had the opportunity of driving her around in my car. She would ask me to drive her to some of her appointments here in San Francisco. And it was an opportunity for me to ask her questions that I had on spirituality, on her own theology, and it was just this wonderful catechesis lesson that I would have. We would sometimes measure distances by praying the rosary, and then after that, I could ask her questions, and she was very candid about answering anything that I might ask her. And I remember one particular day, Anna, where I was just so blown away and kind of inspired by the amount, that myriad of emotions around Mother, in having people coming up to her, kind of witnessing individuals come up to her and wanting to either kiss her or to talk to her or pour out their innermost confessions. And it dawned on me that she really didn't judge anybody that came to her. And I know one time she had actually told me that had she not picked up the first person in Calcutta, she wouldn't have picked up 42,000 from the streets of Calcutta herself. When we got back into the car, I asked her that very question. I said, "Mother, you don't seem to judge anybody." And she told me that I never judge anybody because it doesn't allow me the time to love them.
I mean, we hear stories of people meeting Mother Teresa in this way, and they're usually just short little visits, and yet they have such an effect on people. So 15 years of this, Michael, I mean, what kind of an effect did Mother Teresa have on your own life?
Well, I have to say I was very blessed and fortunate to grow up in a very holy, beautiful family. However, that time, that opportunity with Mother only strengthened my faith. And I learned so many things. There isn't a day that goes by and that I don't think of something that Mother had told me. She really had that unshakable trust in God. She believed completely in divine providence. I know that she and the Missionaries of Charity, the society, never accepted any kind of government grants or help from the archdiocese. They believed, as Mother had set up the society, in divine providence. And I was interested in that and asked Mother one time while we were in the car about that. And she looked over at a tree that was filled with birds, and she said, "Look at the birds. They never seem to wonder or worry about where their next meal is coming from, yet God takes care of them." And she said that, God loves us so much more intimately. We should never have any kind of worries, but just completely have that unshakable divine trust in God.
Now, I want to back up for a second here, Michael. How in the world did you get this kind of access to her in the first place?
Well, I oftentimes wonder that myself. I think in some ways it was just providence and sort of my path it was just obviously an incredible blessing. I think that Mother often said that had anything prepared her to go to heaven, it was all the publicity, because she never asked for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was quite acutely aware of that fact. And I'm more of a portrait photographer than a photojournalist. So I always had that interest of sitting across from Mother and actually doing a portrait of Mother. And she was kind enough over the course of those 15 years to sit for me 3 different times.
Wow.
And I can only say that just an incredible blessing. I really don't know why I had that opportunity over other individuals. It could have been anybody, truly. But I think ultimately perhaps Mother realized that there was a good purpose behind doing something like this. I know that the initial portrait session that I had, in which I had photographed Mother in San Francisco, that was sort of at the encouragement of a lot of the sisters wanting an updated photograph of Mother to carry in their prayer books. And I think Mother realized that, the intentions were appropriate, and I was always quite aware of the fact that, Mother had such a busy schedule, and obviously there were more important things to take care of. There were many opportunities that I had on the inside to document, for example, intimate moments, such as Mother deeply in prayer during the Mass or in the chapel by herself. And I was really quite privy to a lot of moments like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because photography, and in particular, photojournalistic photography, and I know that you say you're not a photojournalist, but a lot of the photos in here of Mother Teresa and her sisters are photojournalistic in nature. It's a very intimate art form. So what was it like to experience Mother Teresa's life in this way?
Truly, I would say the nucleus of Mother Teresa's life was her prayer life. Mm-hmm. It was very hard for me to gauge, Anna, how many hours she slept, because I would come into the chapel, whether it be in Calcutta or anywhere in the United States or in Europe, and see Mother almost always in the back of the chapel praying as I walked in. And then, she would have obviously daily Mass, and then late into the night, they would be praying and have a holy hour. And then I'm told that, her light in Calcutta would burn oftentimes in the early morning hours while she would write letters to those who had written her. So she was quite a prolific writer in regard to anybody who had a request of Mother, that she would actually personally write back a handwritten note. Mm. And, obviously throughout the day, they would be quite busy with the various homes that Mother would visit, or the various tasks at hand in helping the poorest of the poor. It was really kind of opening up this intimate life where I would see Mother dealing with everyone the same, whether it was somebody who was well known as a politician or the poorest of the poor on the street. She always treated each person the same and with the same amount of dignity and respect. And, it was quite extraordinary to just be a witness to that, and it really was the great relationship that I had outside of my family life.
One of the photos that really struck me in this book is a photograph that you took of Mother Teresa's feet. Do you remember taking that photo? What was going through your mind at the time?
That was taken in Calcutta, and it was kind of an interesting story, Anna, that particular day, because Mother had agreed to sit for me right before she flew off that afternoon to Eastern Europe. And she agreed to meet with me on the last day that I was going to be there in Calcutta to speak a little bit and to allow me to take these pictures. And it was a day in Calcutta where it was 110 degrees and raining. Wow. And I had a Hasselblad camera, which is a medium format camera, and the lens kept fogging up because of the weather. And with cameras like that, especially with expensive cameras, if they continue to fog up, they will eventually ruin the element within. So I ended up wiping down the camera, and it never had occurred to me to actually bring defogger. They actually have a spray that can defog lenses. In any case, I had wiped the lens down about 15 times prior to Mother coming into the room, and it was unsuccessful, obviously, and I was at that point very disappointed and resigned to the fact that I wouldn't be able to get those photographs that I wanted to. And at that point, a lot of the sisters wanted me to photograph her feet because they were so symbolic to the work that she had done. And in fact, in Calcutta, in India, especially in her home, Mother would never wear even sandals because she felt that the poor didn't have access to shoes, and she never wanted the poor to come into her home and feel in any way inferior or uncomfortable. And for that reason, she never spent too much time on the phone because she thought the phone was a luxury, and her house was very barren inside and had these concrete slab floors that you can see in that particular picture of her feet. But to go back to that particular day, suddenly Mother came into the room and sat across from me, and I looked one more time through the lens, and it was completely clear. Wow. And later that morning, there was a beautiful Italian couple that had adopted a baby for Mother, and I got to know them a little bit that morning, and then we exchanged addresses, and probably 2 months after that, I received a photograph with a letter from them saying, we took this photograph on that particular morning that we adopted the baby, and we feel that this is a miraculous picture because there's this beautiful glow over the baby and Mother's head. And of course, I looked at the photograph and I could tell that it was because the lens was fogged up. But I didn't have the heart to tell them.
Well, miraculous in its own way, I'm sure. It's an incredible book that was put together originally in 1996, but is now in a softcover version. Clearly, God's hand is on your life as a photographer and just as a man in general. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us here on the Sunrise Morning Show, Michael.
Thank you so much, Anna. It's such an honor and a privilege to speak to you.